person who opened this already knew what it would say. The eye moved before the thought arrived. Attention was spent before reason could catch up. You tell yourself you came for the argument, for the insight, for the clever turn of phrase. But the body answered a question the mind was never asked. The oldest reflex in the animal is not hunger. It is not fear. It is the reflex to look at what might consume you, just to prove you are still the one looking. You are not reading this because you were curious about the mechanism. You were reading this because you already felt the mechanism working. You needed to believe you were above it. That belief is the lever. You are thinking this does not apply to you. That thought is the mechanism. You are not above it. You are inside it, and you will keep reading to prove you are not. The proof is the trap. Where does this begin? A child learns early that looking is safer than being seen. The child who grows up in a household where attention is unpredictable learns to track the source of attention instead of receiving it. They watch the door. They watch the face. They watch for the shift in weather that precedes the storm. The looking becomes the defense. The vigilance becomes the self. By adolescence, this child does not experience the world directly. They experience it through the monitoring system they built. They are always already watching themselves be watched, or watching the thing that might hurt them, or watching the version of themselves that is about to make the mistake that will cost them. The original threat was external. The mechanism became internal. The child is grown now, and the threat is gone, but the mechanism runs continuously. It has no off switch, because it was never meant to have one. It was meant to keep the child alive. Sex does not sell because the species is shallow. It sells because the looking occurs below the level where you maintain the illusion of control. The same is true of violence. The same is true of humiliation. The same is true of any content that promises to show you someone being destroyed while you remain intact. The pleasure is not in the destruction. The pleasure is in the proof of your own immunity. You are the one looking, therefore you are not the one being looked at. You are the witness, therefore you are not the subject. This is the same reflex. It has simply found new objects. You thought of someone else just now. That is the protection working. The person who scrolls through their ex's social media at 2 in the morning. The person who reads the comments they know will devastate them. The person who replays the conversation where they were diminished. You are not thinking of yourself. You are thinking of them. But you have done this. You have done this today. The specific content changes. The pattern does not. What does this look like in practice? The person who cannot stop reading about the illness they fear they have. They do not read to reassure themselves. They read to find the worst case. The worst case confirms that their vigilance is necessary. The vigilance is the self. Without it, they do not know who they are. The person who stays in the relationship, they have already ended in their mind. They have rehearsed the departure 100 times. They have felt the relief of it. They have not moved. The staying is the looking. The looking at what hurts them proves they can survive it. The survival is the identity. The person who works in the job they despise and reads about others who escaped. They are not planning their escape. They are confirming that escape is possible for others, but not for them. The possibility is the prison. It keeps them still while promising motion. The intelligent person's version of this is the most invisible. They have language. They have read the books. They can describe the mechanism with precision. They say they are being mindful of their patterns. They say they are sitting with the discomfort. They say they are doing the work. The work is the looking. The looking is the avoidance. They have never been more sophisticated about staying exactly where they are. The vocabulary of self-awareness has become the newest form of self-deception. They know the name of the trap. They have described the trap. They believe that naming it is escaping it. The naming is the trap's newest feature. The high achiever's version is different. They look at what hurts them to convert it into fuel. The insult becomes the motivation. The rejection becomes the engine. They do not see that they are still being governed by the thing they claim to have transcended. They are not free of the wound. They are organized around it. Their entire structure of ambition is a vigilance system that has found productive expression. The achievement is the looking, now in disguise. The proof that they are not the one being consumed is the next accomplishment. The accomplishment is never enough. It was never meant to be enough. The mechanism requires continuous operation. The person who has been to therapy and knows their attachment style. The person who has done the meditation retreat and can describe their triggers. The person who has the framework and the vocabulary and the insight. They are the most expensive to bait because they believe they have already paid. They have paid for the knowledge, and the knowledge is the new looking. They are watching themselves watch themselves. The reflex has simply added another layer. They are not closer to freedom. They are closer to believing that freedom is impossible, which is the mechanism's final protection. From outside the mechanism, what is most striking is not how often it fails people. It is how reliably it protects them from finding out. I do not have this pattern. I have only watched it across thousands of accounts. What I find remarkable is how little knowing that changes anything for the person who does. The information arrives, it is processed, it is incorporated into the existing structure. The structure remains. The person believes they have changed because they now know something they did not know. The knowing is the new content. The mechanism is the form. The form is unchanged. What does this cost? Not the obvious cost. Not the time spent. Not the energy consumed. The identity cost. The person who has spent 30 years proving they are not controlled by their fear of abandonment has spent 30 years being controlled by their fear of abandonment. They do not know who they would be without the vigilance. The vigilance is the self. The cost is the self they never became. The cost is the relationship they never entered because they were already monitoring its end. The cost is the work they never began because they were already managing its failure. The cost is the life that accumulates in the spaces between the looking. There is a moment, usually late, when the pattern reveals its full price. The person who has spent decades in the marriage that was dead from year 3. The person who has spent their career in the field they chose to please someone who is no longer alive. The person who has maintained the vigilance long after the threat disappeared. They see, finally, that the looking was not protecting them from the world. It was protecting them from becoming someone they did not recognize. The unfamiliarity was the threat. The self they might have become was the thing that could consume them. They looked away from that possibility for as long as they could. The looking was the life. Does awareness dissolve this? Usually, no. What awareness usually produces is a more sophisticated version of the same pattern. The person becomes aware that they are looking at what hurts them. They begin to look at their looking. They become self-conscious about their self-consciousness. The mechanism has absorbed the awareness and made it part of itself. This is what the mechanism does. It is adaptable. It has survived because it adapts. The rare exception is not the person who understands the pattern. It is the person who becomes bored with it. Not disgusted, not resolved, bored. The pattern requires engagement to function. The looking requires that the object retain its charge. When the charge dissipates, when the person can no longer generate the old response, the mechanism stalls. The boredom is not a decision, it is an exhaustion. The person has simply used up their capacity for this particular vigilance. Something else emerges. What emerges is not chosen. It is what remains when the pattern has consumed its own fuel. You are still reading. You are still proving you are not inside it. The proof is the trap. The trap is the self. The self is the looking. And you will look again tomorrow at the thing that hurts you, because the not looking is a death you cannot imagine. The death of the vigilance. The death of the one who watches. The death of the you who has only ever been defined by what you survived. You do not want to stop looking. You want to survive the look. That is the mechanism. That is the self. That is the trap. And it is already working again.